But why would a young, dynamic guy like you, how old are you?
21.
You're 21, so you're 60 years younger than Joe Biden.
That's right.
Right, it was blatantly obvious to everybody that Biden was done, especially after the debate. Why would you continue to pretend that he wasn't?
Because I look at the record, I'm always of the view that achievements and policy matters more than like this talk we have in the media of, oh, Biden's this, oh, Biden's that. I've met the man as well. I've talked to him. He was fantastic. He was sharp. I had questions.
Before we begin, viewer discretion advised. This is for entertainment purposes only. So, why would a young, energetic guy like you, how old are you, 21, step into the ring with Tyrus? Big mistake. Tyrus didn't just respond. He obliterated Harry Sisson. And no, not in a friendly Twitter back and forth. This was a full-blown public demolition. The kind of verbal beatdown that makes you check your Wi-Fi because reality just glitched. Harry tried to clap back, but it was like bringing a juice box to a bar fight. The internet's golden boy just got turned into digital dust. Let's break it down.
So Harry Sisson, well, welcome to both of you. Harry, I want to start by playing a little clip of you last time you appeared on my show. Who do you think the two nominees will be in the end, and who will win?
Yeah, it's going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden's going to win. And Pierce, I'd love to chat with you after the election.
You've made a few dollars, Harry, so why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can?
I mean, I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have...
If you're enjoying, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you think. Harry Sisson froze the moment the real question dropped. It wasn't some small talk like, how's the weather? Or, what's your favorite pizza topping? No, this one actually had weight. How old are you? He was asked. 21, he replied. And somewhere in the audience, someone whispered, that's 60 years younger than Joe Biden. The room went quiet for a split second, the kind of silence that always hits right before Tyrus drops the hammer.
Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene attacked the pride flag, calling it a symbol of aggression. And it's like, seriously? Does she really think that this flag is a symbol of aggression? I mean, what is she talking about? Look, I'm a straight white guy, and I have never, ever felt threatened by a pride flag because it represents pride in oneself and comfort in who they are. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene or any...
Not that Harry noticed. He just smiled like he'd solved world hunger. Or invented a new TikTok dance that could fix the economy. And that's the problem. Everyone could see it. Joe Biden was done. Absolutely done. Done like milk left out in the sun for 3 days. Done like a Wi-Fi router during a blackout. Done like a cat trying to navigate a room full of laser pointy.
He's fit to serve or not fit to serve. History was made in the sense that the donors basically said no more money. Right. And they don't do that because they think, oh, the polling shows you're down this month. So the ugliness of this is that Joe Biden's legacy is going to be affected because of what happened. The policies and stuff that we're running historically didn't ever fit Joe, which people raise their eyebrows to. And then you're seeing all this cover up of how sharp he was, and that's a interesting.
It was blatantly obvious. And yet, there was Harry trying to spin it like Joe was just taking a quick power nap. He showed up on Piers Morgan Uncensored, standing tall, shoulders back, full of that TikTok confidence that only exists when you've never had to defend a policy in front of anyone over 30.
Absolutely right. After the disastrous debate performance, the cat was out of the bag. It was obvious to everyone that Biden was far past his prime, and the fallout was immediate. Suddenly, even left-leaning media outlets started reporting that major Democrat donors were refusing to pour more money into the party unless Biden stepped aside. One example is Abigail Disney, heiress to the Disney family fortune. That kicked off a domino effect, and more Democrats began publicly urging Joe to drop out and make room for someone more capable of carrying the ticket. But Harry isn't one to acknowledge facts, and he tried to spin Biden's withdrawal as some sort of honorable decision.
I mean, I think it's a combination.
I think it's a combination, Harry began, sticking to the usual leftist talking points like a kid reciting lines from a movie they didn't understand. Biden's great. He's sharp. He's accomplished. Sure, those words might work in a TikTok skit, but here, they sounded like someone trying to sell sand in the desert. Luckily for everyone, Tyrus was there. Former pro wrestler, Fox News contributor, and the kind of man who doesn't just call out nonsense. He body slams it, talks it into submission, and uploads the highlight reel. He wasn't about to let Harry's polished script slide. Not today, not here. When challenged to back his words with a $10,000 bet, Harry politely declined, because putting your money where your mouth is takes courage, and Harry, bless him, had none. The refusal was almost poetic. It was like watching someone refuse to jump off a diving board while insisting they're an Olympic swimmer. "I personally don't bet on politics," he said. And just like that, 10 grand stayed safe, while the audience rolled their eyes so hard it caused minor seismic activity.
He could have stayed in the race and said, like, I'm the nominee. I got the votes, I won the primary, I'm going to get the delegates, I'm going to be the nominee. But he looked at the data and made the honorable decision, said, no, I'm not going to.
But is it that honourable to do it now? I mean,
It sounds great, but let's be honest. Nancy Pelosi walked in and said, we can do it.
The easy way or the hard way?
The hard way was Article 25.
You know what it was like? Goodfellas, one of my favourite films, right? And I happen to know Joe Pesci very well through golf. So it's the scene where Joe Pesci thinks he's going to be the made man.
Yes.
Right? And the whole build-up, goes thing, and he goes in and they whack him, right? I think that's what happened with Joe Biden on Sunday.
I think to say that it's like, oh, it's not honorable because it's taking place now, I think is a little bit disingenuous.
Well, I only say that because the other two Democrat incumbent presidents since World War.
But the real fun began when Tyrus started dismantling the narrative. Biden didn't just drop out of the race because he wanted to. Reality made that decision for him. The data, the polls, the slow-motion public collapse. It was all there, unfolding in front of a nation watching in stunned silence. Faceplants off stages, tumbles downstairs, and speeches so incoherent they sounded like modern art performances. Yet Harry clung to the fantasy that everything was fine, that Biden was sharp. That achievement somehow outweighed the viral moments. He defended him passionately, nodding like he'd seen proof behind closed doors. And that's when Tyrus dropped the first verbal elbow. Donors don't fund failing products. It landed hard. Biden, he said, had become a product no one wanted to invest in anymore. The speeches weren't about policy. They were desperate attempts to keep a sinking ship afloat just long enough to prevent a mutiny. And Tyrus? He laid it all bare, calm, confident, and completely unbothered.
There should be more than 2 genders in America.
Yeah, I don't know what that executive order means. I don't know what the president declared.
It means there are 2 genders, male and female. Would you disagree with that?
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
Come on, little guy. How many genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about, so they won't be able to answer.
Harry, how many genders are there?
How many genders are there, Harry?
How many genders are there?
What's the legal? I'm gonna use Joe Biden's answers. At least 2. At least 2. That satisfies.
Well, how
the
many
little
more
phrase you guys
other than
got going
male,
up in there.
female?
That's a TikTok answer.
No, there's at least 2.
Yeah.
There's at least 2.
While Harry clung to his narrative, the receipts started piling up. Reports from Open Secrets revealed he'd been paid for social media consulting. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a consultant until that consulting lines up perfectly with pushing political talking points. And suddenly, the audience started connecting dots. Big dots, dots the size of small planets. Influencer for hire. It didn't whisper, "shill in motion," it screamed it. Tyrus didn't even have to touch that one. The audience was already drawing the picture themselves. Then he hit the nuclear button. He didn't just call out narrative manipulation, he broke down the mechanics, the donors, the money trail. Tyrus dissected the speeches, the talking points, the buzzwords. He called out the word sharp itself as a crutch, a rehearsed phrase repeated so often it had lost all meaning. Every media outlet using it in unison wasn't coincidence, it was orchestration. And in that moment, it became painfully clear. Harry wasn't speaking from principle, or fact, or even reality. He was working off a script written by people whose full-time job is to manufacture belief.
Coming back from this one, leftist TikToker Harry Sisson's career is practically over after being horribly wrong every single time. But Tyrus wasn't having any of it because this clip from a couple months ago is now coming back to haunt Harry, especially after the Democrats lost so decisively. Take a look for yourself and then I think you'll agree. Even Joe Biden's eventual ouster became unavoidable after 2 important incidents, which was the debate night against Donald Trump and then the assassination attempt against Trump that reinvigorated the Republican base like nothing else. And if anything, I think people should have realized by now that they were always wrong to take Biden at his word. First, it was him claiming he only wanted to run for a single term and then walk that back. Then he promised he'd stay for the race against Trump before dropping out a few weeks later. And then more recently, we even saw Joe Biden pardon his son Hunter Biden despite years of promises that he'd never do it because, quote, no one is above the law.
Tyrus didn't just laugh at the absurdity, he tore into it. He called out the generational delusion, the performative respect, the desperate attempt to rewrite history to fit a narrative. "You yanked the money," he said sharply. "You called it honorable. That's not honor, that's spin." And Harry, for all his TikTok charm, had no comeback. He couldn't meme his way out of a reality check delivered in front of cameras, facts, and millions of viewers. Then came the nail in the coffin. Nancy Pelosi and the 25th Amendment. The easy way or the hard way moment no one in Harry's narrative wanted to acknowledge. Harry tried to pivot, tossing out excuses, achievements, and half-baked logic. But Tyrus had already dismantled the scaffolding. There was nothing left to build on. The young influencer, once so certain and confident, was left speechless against the cold, sharp logic of a man who spent years reading power, plays like a playbook. By the end, it wasn't just an interview, it was a cultural moment. Tyrus's breakdown lined up almost perfectly with what followed. The reports of Biden's shrinking inner circle, the cutback in public appearances, the quiet diagnosis talk, and the carefully managed messaging that tied it all together, like a brain trying to keep control of a body already shutting down.
Like human brain
Donald
rot.
Trump says there's male and female. There are two.
Okay, Dave.
How
Russian
many
Rubin,
more
come
are
on
there
now.
after male and female, Harry?
There's at least two. Now, anyway, let me get back
What
to
would
what
you
I was
at
How
least
many
two?
more are there?
What are the other ones?
There's at least two.
What are the other ones?
Harry, let's
with
try
this
it this way.
executive order,
You're a
what's the legal
female.
ma-
What is the
It's
other gender?
It's so funny. It's so funny how these conservatives just get time to lie on this show, but when I'm speaking, they all
We
interrupt
asked a
and there's no
damn
problem.
question.
You've just been
Yeah,
asked a very
and
simple
I'm trying to have
question,
a
Harry.
conversation.
Every awkward stumble, every fumbling comment suddenly made sense. Harry's insistence that Biden was sharp now felt like a time capsule of denial. A record of someone clinging desperately to talking points while reality did somersaults right in front of them. The audience could see it clearly. This wasn't about policy or principle anymore. It was about loyalty to a narrative, brand preservation, and the illusion of influence. Harry became a symbol of a bigger trend. Influencers pledging allegiance to candidates not out of belief, but because they're paid to. And Tyrus? He was the rare, unflinching observer willing to say, no, this isn't okay, this isn't honorable, and it sure isn't news. Watching Harry try to reconcile his beliefs with the truth was like watching someone juggle chainsaws while blindfolded. Entertaining, terrifying, and ultimately futile. Tyrus, of course, never let him off the hook. He used every weapon in his arsenal: irony, sarcasm, plain facts, and the occasional wrestling metaphor, each one landing perfectly, each one cutting through the noise like a finishing move.
Have a
Harry.
conversation with
How many
Piers, not you,
genders there
Mr.
are?
Comb over. Relax for me.
Harry,
Take a
you
breather.
simply
Thank
got
you so
asked
much.
if there are at least two genders, how many more
Wait,
are
Piers,
there than male and female?
Piers, you asked me about Donald Trump's executive order. I'm trying to explain how legally it makes absolutely no sense and it's going to get sued in court. Then we go into culture wars with Dave Rubin and this Ferguson guy asking how many genders are there.
No,
I'm trying
I'm
to answer your
asking
question.
you.
They're screaming
He
their
asked
faces
you.
off
I'm
about issues
asking
that don't
you.
fucking matter.
I'm
Harry,
asking
nobody.
you.
Oh God, this
And
child.
Piers, I've
I'm
given
asking you, Harry,
Piers,
how many
and
genders
I'm
are
answering
there?
your question.
Harry,
The question was simple. Not you, Mr. Relax. You simply got asked. If there are at least two genders, how many more are there? Harry hesitated, then replied, male and female. Pierce tried to steer the conversation back. You asked me about Donald Trump's executive order, Harry said. I'm trying to explain how legally it makes absolutely no sense, and it's going to get sued in court. Then we go into culture wars with Dave Rubin and this Ferguson guy asking how many genders there are. I'm trying to answer your question. But before he could finish, the shouting began. Voices overlapped, tempers flared, and the discussion spiraled into chaos. Oh God, Harry, I'm asking you. How many genders are there? Pierce pressed. I'm answering your question. I've answered, Harry insisted, his frustration bubbling over. By that point, though, it was already too late. He had become the cautionary tale of the modern influencer, full of confidence, light on reality, and remarkably good at looking clueless on camera. By the end of the segment, one thing was clear. Tyrus didn't just call out Harry Sisson, he obliterated him. He dismantled the narrative, exposed the donor dynamics, and made it painfully obvious that sometimes experience and logic still beat enthusiasm and talking points. The difference between being paid to tweet and actually understanding the mechanics of political power had never been clearer. It wasn't personal, though. One man left the studio standing tall. The other left Googling how to phrase, "I was wrong" in 280 characters. For the audience, it was the perfect blend of entertainment and education, laughs, insight, irony, and the sweet satisfaction of watching reality collide head-on with illusion.
Very late in catching up to those lies, and then there's people like Harry Sisson that still have blinders on. Here's what he wrote on X a few months ago, throwing all of his weight and trust behind the idea that Joe Biden would never pardon his son before leaving office, saying, quote, "Riddle me this, MAGA, how has Biden weaponized the Justice Department if his own son is on trial, and he's saying he will not pardon him if convicted? Your whole argument kind of crumbles, doesn't it? Embarrassing." Harry seems to have an uncanny ability to just twist past statements into present events, even if they contradict, and he's apparently started doing that on TikTok by rallying his followers into a new resistance against.
Harry Sisson froze when asked his age. But by the time the interview ended, the entire internet had frozen too. Paused, replayed, and rewatched the clip multiple times just to see Tyrus methodically and mercilessly dismantle a young influencer's illusions. The lesson was clear. Enthusiasm is entertaining. Talking points are predictable, but reality is unstoppable. And Tyrus? He's the guy who makes sure that reality check lands with the force of a professional wrestler, a commentator, and a very, very unimpressed adult. Somewhere, Harry Sisson is probably drafting a new TikTok, one that tries to explain the events of the day with charm, optimism, and a little bit of spin. But the internet already knows. The record is set, the takedown is legendary, and the lesson is unforgettable. Charisma without knowledge is fun for 10 seconds. Tyrus obliterates it in 30, and the audience gets the full show. Front row, no tickets required. By the time the dust settled, it was undeniable. One influencer walked in thinking he understood politics. One former wrestler walked in knowing he understood reality. The outcome? Absolute chaos for the influencer, and a masterclass for the audience. It was a reminder that sometimes being right isn't about confidence, it's about clarity, timing, and delivering the facts so hard they feel like a steel chair to the head. Metaphorically, of course. And that's where we leave it. Harry Sisson learned the hard way that not all battles are winnable with charm, youth, or social media clout. Tyrus demonstrated the rare and beautiful art of dismantling nonsense without ever raising his voice, without ever needing applause, and without ever breaking a sweat.